This is part 2 of setting up OpenSquiggly on the Amazon virtual machine. As per usual, consult your security team for any additional recommendations. Okay, so what I've done here is I'm going to SSH into the machine, and I've created an alias. It's going to make it easier for me to do that. So let me just show you what my alias looks like. All right, so basically I do this SSH minus O identities only equals yes, and then give a minus I and a path to where the PEM file is stored, and then the username, in my case it's Ubuntu at, and then the IP address or the DNS name of the server. So I just created in that last video SSH AWS VM AWS VM7. That should get me in. Fingerprint, yes. All right, good. And so we're going to change into opt, right, to apt update. Right. We want to make sure we do that update first, because now we're going to do the install the unzip. But the unzip won't find the unzip unless you do that update. Sudo apt install unzip. We need the unzip so that we can unzip the zip file that we're going to download. All right, clear that. All right, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use wget to get the file. All right, sudo wget http files.opensquiggly.com/opensquiggly.latest.zip. That's going to get that zip file into our opt directory. All right, that looks good. Now the next step we're going to do is we're going to unzip that file. We're going to unzip that zip file. We're going to do sudo unzip OpenSquiggly latest.zip, and then the -d, and then the OpenSquiggly. That's the folder we're going to put it in. All right, that looks good. Okay, now we're going to change into op/OpenSquiggly/setup. Right, and we're going to run sudo bash AWS setup.sh. Since we're on Amazon, we're going to use the AWS setup.sh script, and this is going to guide us through what we want to do. Do you want to format and mount a newly attached disk? Yes. All right, now remember when we created the VM, when we created the instance, we created that volume, but that does not do anything to format or partition the volume. So we need to prepare that volume, and our OpenSquiggly setup script allows you to do that. So what we're going to do is it gives you a list of all your block devices, and you want to find out which one is the block device that corresponds to that. Now, usually it's going to be the last one on the list, and the naming convention Amazon uses is this XVDB. And we see that it's 30 gig, and that's the size that corresponds. Also says disk here, that's another clue. All right, so it's XVDB. Notice that XVDA is the operating system one at 8 gig, right? So then the next one after A would be B, so XVDB. All right, and it asks to confirm. I'd say yes. All right, where do I want to mount the partition? I want to put this in /data, right? And now I look over this list. After it's mounted it gives me a new list, and I notice that /dev/xddb, which is that 30 gig disk, is mounted on /data. So that looks correct, and I say yes, that looks correct. All right, do you want to add it to your FS tab? I do want to do this because this is what's going to make it automatically remount that every time I reboot the VM. So it's important to do this. Yes. All right, now what we do is we locate the UUID in this list. We're going to copy this to the clipboard with my terminal. All right, I've copied that to the clipboard, and then I paste that in here to the UUID. There we go. And that's done. Do you want to install MongoDB? Yes. All right, that may take a minute or two, but it's finished. And then enter the path to store the MongoDB data. I want to put this in /data/MongoDB. Now, everything I do, all these volumes I'm going to enter, they're always going to start with /data because that's where I mounted that external disk that we talked about in the first video. And then I want to put my logs in /data/logs/MongoDB. Right? And do we want to install Elasticsearch? Yes. The reason why you would enter no to one of these would be like, let's say you were doing the script a second time, and because something went wrong, you reran it, and then you know, since you had already installed it the first time, you want to skip it the second time. But most of the time, you're just going to want to say yes to everything. Okay, again, this will take another minute or so. Okay, enter the path to store the Elasticsearch data. So we're going to put that in /data/Elasticsearch. Right, and we're going to want the logs to be in /data/log/Elasticsearch. Right, it's going to enable the Elasticsearch service. Be patient with that. That takes a minute or two. All right, that's done. And do you want to install the .NET 6.0 runtime? Yes, we do. Okay, that's done. Do you want to generate a new app settings.json file? Yes. The app settings.json file is going to store all the settings that OpenSquiggly needs for the web service to be able to run. Our zip file does not come with an app settings.json file at all, and so the setup script generates one. So we're going to say yes. All right, and where did we put the bin file for OpenSquiggly? That's in /op OpenSquiggly /bin. I want to type that in. All right. Now, this is important to understand. When you generate that app settings.json file, it's going to generate two important values or keys that go inside that file called encrypted main key and encrypted app title. And what that is used for is it's used to encrypt data that's stored in MongoDB. That way it doesn't store like the content of all your wiki pages and everything don't get stored in clear text inside your MongoDB. And so if somebody were to just use Compass or some other, database tool to inspect MongoDB, they wouldn't see the raw, content of your wiki pages and things like that. Now, the consequences of that is you've got to make sure that you don't lose that encrypted main key. So if you were to, let's say, regenerate the app settings.json file and it overwrote your encrypted main key, it's got to be the same main key that corresponds to what's currently in the database, right? So the two have to go together, whatever keys you use to create the data in your database have to be the same keys that you use forever, all right? Which means that you got to make sure that you don't lose access to this. So that's what this is trying to explain. And in order to make sure that you understand that, it makes you type in, yes, I will make a backup. So basically, you're going to want to make sure that you have a backup of that app settings.json file, which is in your OpenSquiggly bin directory. All right. Do you want to initialize the OpenSquiggly web servers? Yes. And where is the bin file again? It makes you type that in a second time. We could improve that script. And in this case, the username for Amazon, in my case at least, is Ubuntu, because that's the ID that I associated with the SSH key pair. But I think that's the default name that Amazon creates when you create a new Ubuntu-based instance. So anyways, it's Ubuntu. on Azure, it's Azure user, but on Amazon, it's Ubuntu. Okay, do that, and that's it. So now just to make sure that the open squiggly script is actually running, I can do sudo system control status open squiggly, and that should tell me they're active running. Okay, and so that's a good way to verify that it actually is running. We could also verify our MongoDB, Mongod. All right, that's running, and the Elasticsearch is also running. Okay, so everything looks good, and we're ready to proceed to video 3, which is the post setup process. This is where you'll connect to Open Squiggly, you'll create a user, and we'll test it out. We'll create some homepage content, and we'll attach to some repositories and clone them and graph them into our page structure. That's it for this video. Thank you for watching.